So today I want to talk about how I learned 1,000 Japanese words in the last 5 months. And I realized this because I opened up the stats on my Anki program and I was able to see that I've been studying 1,000 new flashcards in the last 5 months, which I thought was so great. But before I get into that, you probably can tell that I'm in a new location. This is my friend Mike's house. I decided that I needed to film the video today, but I'm out all day because I had my language exchange with Jing and also Inyo. And speaking of them, Jing was so kind and nice to give me this, which is a white tea. It's called Hongjo, and this is I think it's a red bean white tea, but she says it's her favorite tea, so I'm very excited to try this out and see how that is. I drink green tea every day in the afternoon, so I'm curious to try out some white tea. The other thing I did was I picked up a book that came in. We were finishing Teach Yourself Sanskrit in the Sanskrit class at the Language Academy, and then we're going to be doing this book. It's pretty thick. This is The Sanskrit Language, an Introductory Grammar and Reader by Walter Maurer, published by Routledge. And this is going to be our next book to continue studying Sanskrit. And Sanskrit is such a great language to study. I really enjoy it. But let's get into how I learned 1,000 words in the last 5 months in Japanese. Now, if you saw my last video, you know I'm pretty conversational in Japanese already, but there's still so many words that I don't know in Japanese. And that's the first thing you should take away from this video, is that there's no ends to learning a language. Even for me, speaking and learning English, I've spoken English my entire life, but there's still words in English that I don't know. If I were to read an English book, I would come across words that I've never seen before and whose meanings I don't know. So yeah, if I'm not fluent 100% in English, how could I possibly be 100% fluent in a foreign language like Japanese that I don't even use all the time like I do with English? So that being said, although I can live in Japan without any trouble, I can express myself without any trouble, I can speak about a number of topics with my friends, I never had any difficulty, there's still many words which I just don't know in Japanese. So I've been reading in Japanese and I've been recording the vocabulary that I come across using Migaku, which is a great, let's call it an extension or an add-on. And this is so great because it's able to get the target word with the sentence in which it appears in, and it automatically makes a flashcard for it for Anki with the pronunciation, as well as like a fun little image that finds using Google image search for the word. So this is such a great way to learn vocabulary. And the other great thing about it is you're able to see how many words you've learned. So for me, I crossed the 1,000 word mark over the last 5 months. And that seems like a pretty significant number. 1,000 words is a good number to have. I will say that it's not the only number of words I've been learning. I am learning Arabic, Spanish, French, German, Chinese, Teochew, Italian, Korean, Sanskrit. So there are all these other languages that I'm also learning words for, but I decided I would just talk about the 1,000 words in Japanese that I learned. And so how do I go about vocabulary learning? For Japanese, basically I just learn however many words I feel like for that day. I know a lot of people try to study, say, like 5 new words a day or 10 new words a day. For me, I just study whatever I feel like. So a lot of days I study 0 new words. But then maybe one other day I might study 100 new words. So you need to balance it out, whichever way you do it. Either way is fine. But if you do too many new words every day, the reviews are going to stack up, and that's going to be very difficult to deal with. It's going to become overwhelming. You won't be able to get through the reviews, and then you'll start to feel bad because you weren't able to clear out the reviews for that day. And then the next day, you'll have not only that day's reviews, but also the reviews from the prior day, and it's less likely that you'll be able to get through it, and eventually you're just going to give up and stop. That's the most dangerous thing, is if you give up and stop completely, because you might not get back to starting again for who knows how many days, months, years. So the point is, you want to do something that's comfortable with you, that you can keep going and maintain on a consistent basis. So for me, that means not adding 100 words a day every day. I want to add 100 words sometimes, but then other days I don't add any words, and that allows the reviews to come back down on a daily basis. The way that I learn the vocabulary is I look at the phonetics and I use mnemonics to remember the sounds of the word for the English meaning. And this is something that I've gone over in other videos. You can check them out. But something I haven't heard anyone really talk about. And maybe someone did talk about somewhere. If you have heard someone talk about, please let me know in the comments below. But something that I've realized is that languages have their own intrinsic understanding of what constitutes a word. For example, there are certain types of sounds that appear more often in a language than other sounds. For example, I think of Chinese. There might be like or an at the end of a lot of words, or xiang, yang. But in English, we don't have these kinds of endings that often. I can't think of the one word that comes to mind, which is boomerang, but I'm pretty sure boomerang was not originally an English word. So that was probably some word from an indigenous language, I think in Australia or some place over in that part of the world. So basically why I bring this up is that at the beginning of learning a new language, your mind or your subconscious has not been able to understand the intrinsic logic to the language. It doesn't understand which sounds appear more often and which sounds appear in which sequences more often. And so this makes it more difficult to memorize vocabulary. But as you become accustomed with the vocabulary and the words in the foreign language, your subconscious begins to build up a structure of how these words are built and the internal logic to how words are created in the foreign language. And once you learn that on a subconscious level, it becomes so much easier to learn words in the foreign language. But to get to this level, you have to study words for a long time. You have to be exposed to the foreign language and vocabulary for probably a year or two, maybe longer. And it's only then that your subconscious really understands that, okay, this is kind of the underpinning of what consists of making up a word in this language. So again, I don't know. I've never really seen anyone talk about this. But then again, maybe there is someone talking about this. If you have heard about this or seen something about it, I'd love to hear about it, just because I haven't seen anything about it. So please do let me know if you have heard about this. So for that reason, for me to learn a new Japanese word, it's actually really easy. It's much simpler for me to learn a new word in Japanese than it is for me to learn a new word in, say, Sanskrit or Arabic, because I've only started these languages in the last year. Japanese I've been studying since I was 13. So that's a long time that I've been exposed to the Japanese language, and my subconscious has had a long period of time to really drink or, figure out what these words are and the intrinsic logic of making up the vocabulary. For that reason, when I come across a new word, even though I don't know its meaning or I've never come across it before, it does follow this intrinsic logic that Japanese has for its words, and therefore it fits into the frame of what seems reasonable or comfortable with Japanese. So for that reason, it makes it easier to learn the words. And then if I can use a mnemonic, which is basically using the sounds of the word and making a link between the sounds with the meaning in English, this is a very effective way to learn a lot of vocabulary very quickly. At least for me, I think it's a lot better and it's a lot easier than just repeating the word or the sounds back and forth with the definition in English. I think it is possible to learn a word that way, but it takes much longer because you're not making a logical connection that allows your mind to hook the words onto the English meaning. And it's really these hooks which allow us to further our understanding and our memorization skills and our memorization abilities. So that's basically how I was able to learn 1,000 words in Japanese over the last 5 months. Again, I haven't been going too hard with Japanese just because I have a lot of other languages I'm studying and I need to learn words for them every day as well. But I do feel proud that I was able to learn 1,000 new words in 5 months, and I look forward to learning the next 1,000 words in Japanese and taking my Japanese to that next level. So that's it. I hope this video helped you, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you so much.